Homelessness is a growing issue in the U.S. According to the National Alliance to End Homelessness, 17 out of every 10,000 people in the United States were experiencing homelessness on a single night in January 2019 during HUD's annual point-in-time count. These over 500,000 people represent a cross-section of America. They are associated with every region of the country, family status, gender category, and racial ethnic group. Historically, homelessness emerged as a national issue in the 1870s. Early homeless people lived in emerging urban cities. Into the 20th century, the Great Depression of the 1930s caused a substantial rise in unemployment and related social issues. So far in the 21st century, the financial crisis, poverty, lack of affordable housing, lack of affordable health care, domestic violence, addiction, mental illness, and the recent pandemic all have been a major driving factor and contributor to rising homelessness rates. Another growing factor in homelessness is the uptick in mental health issues and the high cost of living in larger cities. In any case, homelessness is an ongoing problem that unfortunately is not being addressed sufficiently. Today on God Dreamers, our guest host David Jeter will be discussing the plight of homelessness with Kip Dobbs, who is the founder of the organization Honor the Homeless. Honor the Homeless mission is to create disciples for the kingdom and easing human suffering through dispensing food, clothing, hygiene, and the Word of God to the unsheltered homeless in Atlanta. That's what's next on God Dreamers.
I'm your host today, David Jeter of The Next Steps, and today we're going to be talking about homelessness with my great guest here, Mr. Kip Dobbs from Honor the Homeless. So, before we begin, let me take a moment and pause and say thank you so much for this opportunity to sit down with you, and we wanted to express our appreciation for this opportunity again here today. So, my privilege. Thank you. Without further ado, why don't we dig in, Kip?
Okay, let's do it.
All right, so take a few minutes and express to our viewers who you are and what you do.
You know, I like to say on the street, I'm just some guy with amazing hair, man, out here. You know, God's the one. You know, so I'm just some guy.
Well, as amazing as your hair is, that's not why we're here today, though. So I need you to dig a little bit deeper there, okay?
Okay. You know, I'm just some average guy that really just took the principles of God to heart. And, you know, when God said, listen, I am more worried about the one that is lost than the 99 that are found.
Wow.
And as I heard that, it was in a Bible study here at my home. And when I heard that, I was like, wow, you know what? All these people at this Bible study here. And I looked right across the table, and this guy had a monogrammed Bible, and it hit me. These people aren't lost. You know, we're playing church here, which is good. We're learning, we're educating, we have to do that. We have to study, we have to. But this is not where the lost are, and I want to be about finding the lost. And then I heard another phrase that really gave me my marching orders.
Okay.
Where a man said, it was said in a sermon, he says, some want to build their ministry in the confines of the church. Not me, I want to build mine at the gates of hell. And that was just exciting to me. That really made my hair stand up. And I was like, that's me, that's what I want to do.
So who does the one represent?
People that don't know the truth about God. The people that think that God is up there with a rock. Boy, you just try. Just go ahead and sin, watch what I do. Not understanding the truth. You know what I'm saying? That God's your Father. And that God loves you. And His principles are better for you than those of your own. And then if you just trust His principles, are you going to be perfect? No, you're not going to be perfect. There's not a sinless man. Okay. But when you find yourself in a pickle, you find yourself at a road. I heard it once said, when you come to a fork in the road, usually the hardest road is the right decision. Well, see, fortunately, with the Bible, once you understand God's principles, just trusting God's principles, there will never come a time when you look back on your life and say, man, I wish I wouldn't have trusted God's principles on that one. That day will never come.
Well, you know what? You did a great job of telling us what you do. Now, I want my audience to know who you are, where you're from, where's home for you. What was it like growing up in the place that you call home?
I was born in Texas, raised in Oklahoma on a cattle ranch. My grandfather had a large cattle ranch. He was my step-grandfather. And roping, riding, working cattle. You know, I thought I was going to be a cowboy. And then I got to be a teenager. Then I decided, wait a minute, you know, this whole rock star thing sounds a lot cooler than being a cowboy. I'd already been a cowboy. So now I wanted to grow my hair out long and play in a band, you know. I wanted to get me some, you know, I wanted to be a rock star.
This must have been back in the 70s or so, huh?
Yeah.
Long hair, rock star.
Man, I wanted to grow that hair out, you know what I'm saying, and play music, have all the girls screaming and yelling my name, you know. And so that's when I left the farm and went to ended up moving up to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and went to work at a restaurant.
And now you're here in Atlanta, Georgia. Tell us about that transition from Oklahoma to Atlanta.
Well, I first moved to Kansas City, Missouri, which is relevant because that's where I met the love of my life.
Okay.
I met my wife on a blind date, and it forever changed the trajectory of my life. Because growing up, you know, I was just going to say I was neglected, and my family didn't know how to do whatever it is raising kids is. And so when I met my wife, she came from a large family, 5 girls, and their father, I didn't have a father growing up. That was very pivotal to me having this hole in my heart, not having a father, being raised by a single mother, as so many people are. It's really painful for a boy. And when I met my wife, married into that family, then Charles McLaughlin, her father, taught me to be a man, taught me to be a husband, and be a father. And so then from Kansas City, Missouri, I ended up moving to Georgia to get into real estate. And then when we got up here, my stepfather got involved in some shady real estate deals, and they revoked his real estate license forever in the state of Georgia. And so he took off back to Tulsa, and I was like, you know what, I'm staying here. I love it here. It's a land of opportunity. Plus, we didn't have butt-deep snow every year.
Absolutely.
That's important.
I've been to Missouri.
I'm a little guy. In Oklahoma, the same. I don't like the snow. I don't like the cold weather, so I'd love to here in Georgia. And that's been great ever since. We had our 2 kids here. Land's home.
Well, I hear a void. You stated that you did not grow up with your father. I hear and see emotions as you answered that question. Are those elements that what led you to starting Honor the Homeless?
I would absolutely say that the hole in my heart from, you know, all the child needs is love. We got the wrong message somewhere down the road that, you know, I got to make all this money, and we do have to make money to provide shelter and food, clothing, right? We have needs. But the most important thing that a child needs is their parents' love and acceptance. This is the most important thing. They will outgrow not having the good-looking shoes, and they'll even outgrow them being bullied from being poor kids or whatever you might be bullied by. But that not being loved and accepted, that's hard to outgrow. And anyway, absolutely it did, because it put a need in my heart to be loved. And as I got out on the street and started loving on people and started cooking for people, and I could pour my love into the food, I can't tell you how many times they'd say, "Thank you, man," and then they'd take the bite and say, "You ain't with it? You know what's in this?" I say, "Oh, I certainly do. Zucchini, squash, cabbage, and green beans, and lima beans, and carrots." There's love, and I can feel it. Man, thank you, brother. Thank you. And that became the fuel. You know? And I have a saying: when you engage your passion to the benefit of others, your purpose will emerge. This is exactly what happened to me on the street. My passion was cooking. My passion was loving and being loved. And as I did that, as I followed God's principles. Followed his principles. Led me to being about loving on homeless people and praying with them and trying to say, look, man, I serve a living God that loves you. And if you're happy with your life out here, hey, no problem. Hey, I gave you freedom. Who am I to try to condemn that freedom? If you're having a great time, I'm having a great time. We can meet you. But if you're not, there's another way.
So along that journey of establishing and starting Honor the Homeless, what were some other things that motivated you to stay on that course to make it a success?
I guess I would have to say that I was fulfilled by it.
Hmm. That says a lot.
I really was. And, you know, going back to that saying, how your purpose will emerge. See, there's folks on the street, a man gave me a pallet of spaghetti one time. I started making spaghetti every week. And my wife had said, can you make me some sauce? Oh, sure. What do you, how about 5 gallons? You make me 5 gallons of spaghetti? She's like, what? 5 gallons of spaghetti sauce? Yes, please. Every week.
Not just now, but every week.
Every week. It's not too, man. Yeah. And she did. She made a fantastic sauce. And, man, I'm riding around in this Ford Ranger. These coolers are flying around the back of the truck. And I'm like, hey, man, you hungry? Come on, bro. I got Bibles, blankets, any kind of, man, clothing I could scrounge up. Man, yard sales, people, I'd say, well, you know, if you don't sell this stuff, I'd like for you to consider donating that to my little homeless ministry, you know.
Okay.
And we received 501c3 in 2012, I believe it was.
Okay.
So then we were able to say, hey, we can give you tax benefit. And then we really started getting clothing, and I realized clothing is more important. And a cup of soup lasts for 4 or 6 hours. A blanket, a nice jacket, a pair of gloves can last a season. You know, the chronically homeless, they don't have closets, they don't have dressers, you know, they don't have anywhere to store their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They can wear it till the summer, and usually it's gone at that point.
So along that journey of getting things up and running and in place, what were some things that you found to be very stressful? You know, sometimes you might have started thinking, am I doing the right thing here? Or is this the right way for me to do this?
Well, in the beginning, when I told my wife, I said, man, I got a great idea. This is going to be great. So what we're going to do is we're going to start buying a bunch of food, and every week we're going to go down and feed homeless people and pray with them and try to convince them that God loves them and that they can change their life. And she's like, so we're just going to start feeding people. It's going to be great, and you can help me. We'll just cook up all kind of food, and we'll take it down there. And she's like, it's all free. It's all free? Oh, yeah. Oh, look, you can't outgive God, right? You ain't got to worry. Look, God's going to hook us up. You ain't got to worry about it. Another thing that helped me was, I looked down at the thing at church, and they said this week's giving was $3.5 million. I was like, golly, this week's giving is $3 million? You know what they can do without my little $100?
Mm.
And I said, you know, I could start using my $100. And she says, well, you know, you ain't going to be able to take that off on your taxes. And I said, well, you know, that's the thing about working for God, is it's on Him, not them.
Mm.
We don't need the federal government to pay us back. We're not doing this for our money back in the government. She said, listen, I trust you, I trust God. Whatever you decide, I trust you.
That's the true part.
Yeah. She's, like I said, the secret to my success. Truly, I haven't said this yet, but I need to get this in here. The key to my success, truly, was marrying a good woman young.
Wow.
Really, we just celebrated 33 years.
Congratulations.
My privilege. My privilege really is, and that was the key to my success. But that was the first big challenge. But there was challenges. Like, you know, the same day that we're going down, I remember time the truck broke down.
Mm-hmm.
Truck broke down on Highway 78. I got to get home and start cooking immediately within the hour, and the truck won't start. And this is the truck that we're taking downtown.
Mm.
Now, this is before, you know, we had any sort of resources or anything, man. It was me and God, all right? And so anyway, literally the truck breaks down, and my answer was the same always. All right, Father. You told me all I needed to do was make myself available. I'm going to need some help here. God always came through for us.
Wow.
Let me tell you a quick story that I'll never forget. My wife and I were in here preparing everything. We usually left at about 6:30 because one way to ensure that we're dealing with chronically homeless people, instead of just anyone that wants free dinner, is go down at night. Go down at 7:30 at night, 8 o'clock, under the bridges, under the overpasses, behind the trash cans, in the dark of night. A lot of people are like, man, you crazy, what you talking? And I was like, well, this ensures that we're dealing with chronically homeless. So anyway, this particular night, no one had shown up. We didn't have any sort of volunteer website or anything like we do now. So no one had showed up, and I said, Wanda, she said, nobody's here. I can't go with you tonight. I got da-da-da. And I said, oh man, we need to pray about this. Because I needed one other person. You know, it's just, you can't do everything we did with one person. Right? It's 150, 200 people. So we literally got down on our knees and said, Father God, we love you and we trust you and we need your help. If this is your will, please send us help. That, at about 6 o'clock, all of a sudden this guy shows up and he's got this golfing hat on, he had the little shark on it, and he was nice. You know, he didn't look like he just came from work. He looked like he just came from the golf course. Okay. And he's like, well, I'm here. And I was like, hey, how you doing, David? I said, well, you okay? You seem a little upset. And he says, man, I had a lot of work in Florida. I worked all day in Florida. I drove all the way home, played golf this morning, drove all the way home, and as soon as I got home, the grass was waist high. The wife didn't cut the grass. So I pulled the lawnmower out, reached down and grabbed the thing to start the mower, and God said, hey, you need to go downtown. And he said, really, God? And at that moment he said, so I threw the dang mower back in the shed, and here I am.
Wow.
And he sounded a little begrudging, you know, that he was faithful. And my wife said, when was that? What time was that? It was 6 o'clock now. And he said, well, let's see. I called my wife when I got there. That was at 6:15. Instantly, my wife started tearing up.
Wow.
It still chokes me up to tell the story to this day. That was the exact moment that we prayed.
So you knew that was evidence that God answered that prayer right away.
I'm just telling you, it was more than a coincidence.
Wow.
It was more than a coincidence. And I'll just tell you this, God has always given us exactly what we needed, right when we needed it.
That's very powerful.
That's the truth.
So let me ask you, with homelessness being such a major challenge in every city across the U.S., how is it you guys go about executing your mission to help the homeless here in Atlanta?
Like you said, it's such a big issue. I like the phrase, do you know how to eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? That's all you can do is, you can't put it on yourself. We're not in the results business. Clearly this is too big for us to fix anything. What we can do is trust God's principles and promises and make ourselves available. Just do what we can. We're not in the results business. That's God's going to do anything that's going to really be done, right? All we can do is try to make a difference in one person's life. Just one.
One person at a time.
That's it. That's the whole deal. Just make yourself available. Go down and say, hey man, I just want to come tell you I love you. I love you, brother. And I serve a living God who absolutely loves you. And, I'd love to talk to you about it. And I'd love to talk to you about anything. I'll listen. Nobody cares how much you know
until they know how much you care.
That's exactly right. And when you sit and listen to someone, listen to them. Say, man, what's up? What's going on, dude? And let them talk and listen to what they're saying. Then you kind of develop a relationship. You come down and try to start to speak into someone's life. Well, you know what you ought to do. Let me tell you what you ought to do. That's not going to be met with any sort of, But if you come down and you say, what's going on, dude? Tell me about yourself. How did you get down here? What's going on? As you develop a relationship with people, then you can kind of speak into the life and say, man, hey, look, if there's anything I can do to assist you. And we don't give out money. We don't give out stuff like that. But that opens up the conversation to, hey, you know what? I was homeless. And I was homeless. I lost everything I had. I got addicted to crack in the 80s and I lost everything I had. And I got out on the street and drinking water out the side of a guy's house. I took a pretty good beating. And I realized that moment that homelessness came close to my being at that moment. And I remember thinking, that's the deal. You just go down, make yourself available, love on one person at a time, and God is going to do the heavy lifting.
Well, one of the things I just heard from you is that you meet people where they are. You don't come in at a higher level than where they are and try to pull them up. You meet them where they are and you show them love.
Excellent observation.
So when you're doing your ministry, based on your years of experience in doing such, what do you find are maybe some of the, let's say the top 2 or 3 core elements that may lead to homelessness?
The main thing that I see clearly is mental illness. No question. I would say 50% or more, probably more, chronic mental illness. What we need to do to take a bite out of homelessness is we need to reform our mental health programs in America. We're the richest country in the world, and we, and I'm not qualified to speak on the programs we do and don't have for mental health, but I'll tell you this. We have a serious mental health issue that is going unaddressed to a large extent. There again, I'm not trying to tell you that I can fix that, but I can tell you this, we need to do better. We spend a lot of time, I'd say if we spend as much time on helping the chronically mentally ill as we do on making good coffee. Can we just start there? How many people work on making good coffee, right? Let's spend time trying to help chronically mentally ill. At the root, this is chronically homeless people if you want to find mental illness. And then drugs and alcohol. And you can heal up from that. You can typically come back from drugs and alcohol. I did. I've seen it happen. I've seen people just make a decision. I've seen people be delivered, right, from alcohol and drugs. Mental illness is more difficult. They need a lot more.
So given what you just told me, let's say on a scale of 1 to 10, how difficult is it for someone to make that transformation? Someone that's currently homeless, and they're willing to do all the things necessary to turn their life around.
It's impossible to say because we're all so different. Some people, like David Goggins, I wish I pronounced his name correctly. It's the guy that set the pull-up world record at like 4,000, right? Who is this guy? Okay.
What type of mindset allows you to be able to do 4,000 sit-ups?
I got nothing. So that's the thing. We're not all the same. We're all different.
Okay.
So, you can't really just give a blanket answer to that. But I'll tell you this, man. When you get so far down that you can't afford a glass of water, your spectrum on the world completely changes. A lot of people say, well, what you need to do is get a job. You need a job, boy. Let me tell you, I've never met a homeless man that's never had a job. Job is something we all need, right? More so for fulfillment in our life and purpose than even for money. Money's not enough. If money was enough, rich people wouldn't kill themselves. It's just not. People need more than jobs. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
They need education. They need to understand that we were put on this earth to thrive, not just survive. And the idea that, just get plenty of money and you'll be fine. Man, I need some grit. That'll be great.
That's the biggest lie, right?
It is. And the only way that you'll ever know that that's a lie is when you finally get enough. When you finally have earned enough money to buy your life back, and you're sitting there at the house, and you're like, okay, well, I got a good car out there, I got all the bills are caught up, everything's paid up, everything's good. Now what? And then you find out that life is empty and hollow without love, without companionship, without each other. We need each other, man. The worst thing you can do to a human being to separate them from their fellow human beings.
Well, we were designed and made to be codependent.
Absolutely. That's exactly right. And this is something that I wish that in our educational systems, I wish we would take more time spend more time on teaching people to love one another. You know, used to we had God in our culture to kind of say, look, you know, hey, love your brother as you love yourself. See, that's no longer the case. We don't. That's not our. You know, there's a lot of people that still believe that principle, but we're not teaching that principle. You see what I'm saying? Because so forth and so on, whatever it is. But the fact still remains that we need to love each other. We need to forgive each other.
Absolutely.
If you can't forgive people, man, that's the essence of animosity and angst and stress and anxiety, is carrying all the crap from the past. You know what I mean? And we just don't spend any time on that, in my opinion. Of course, you know, there again, I'm an instant expert on many things. Just ask me of what the school does and does not teach, but I just wish that we would spend more time teaching people how to deal with people. Class number 105, people business.
So let me ask you mentioned the whole people side. What would you say to our younger viewers right now in terms of how can they identify their purpose and their passion?
That's a great question. I love that question because
This time I want you to talk right into the camera and talk to the younger generation that's watching this video.
I wish I had my whiteboard and I could illustrate for you. Well, here, let me just give you this quick rundown. On the fulfillment, finding fulfillment in your life is essential. This is like happiness. This is being content, having enough. It really has less to do with money than you would think. First of all, you need to discover who you are as a human being. You need to analyze your principles. Principles are never changing things that don't change. I'm honest, I'm fair, I'm respectful. Principles never change. Your values constantly change. You know, when you're young, you want to be accepted by your mama, your family. You get a little bit older, you want to be respected by your friends. You get a little bit older, you want a nice pad, you want nice wheels. And then you want, you know, a nicer pad, nicer wheels. Your values constantly changing. So you need to constantly do an evaluation of your values. Your gifts. What are your gifts? Have you ever been doing something and you're just doing it, and your friends are like, man, how do you do that? And you're like, I don't know, I just got it. That's an example of a gift. And here's the strange thing about a gift, is that you don't realize how valuable gifts are. Your gifts. Because you've always had it. You could always just do it. If you're good with numbers, you're just good with numbers. Like, oh man, that ain't no big deal. Anybody could do that. You see what I'm saying? Now your passion. Passion's a little tricky. One quick way to identify your passion is, what would you miss? Food? What would you give up on? Love? Right? Maybe not love, but interaction with your mate. Your wife comes in and says, hey babe, dinner's ready, come on in. You say, oh, give me just a minute, I almost got this thing, I got something, I'm right at the edge of it, I gotta finish this, That is a great indication that that's your passion. What can you talk for hours about? Your passion. Man, when you find a job that you're passionate about, right? You've heard it said, do what you love and you'll never work another day in your life. Do what you're passionate about. It's impossible to be good at something you're not passionate about. Now remember this Kip Dobbs original. When you engage your passion to the benefit of others, a purpose will emerge. When you identify your principles, and don't go against your principles, because you won't find fulfillment in your life. If one of your principles is to help single mothers and help people that are less fortunate than you, and the guy at the dealership says, hey man, you got an opportunity right here. Anytime someone comes in with a check engine light, you're going to tell them, well, it's probably an O2 sensor or a camshaft positioning sensor. And then we're going to sell them one of those two things, and then we're going to figure out what's wrong with their car, and you're going to make a bunch of money, son. Yeah. Trust me, you might make a few dollars. you're not going to find fulfillment in that job and ultimately in your life. Don't go against your principles. Use your values to determine, should I take this job? Should I marry this person? Are my values represented in these decisions? Okay? Now, your gifts and your talents, man, when you find your purpose and your calling, your gifts and your talents are going to be all intertwined in it. This is the thing. You need to take time to discover, become self-actuated, right? Discover who you are. I love what Shakespeare said. This above all, to thine own self be true, as the night follows the day, and thou canst be false to the other man. Be true to yourself. Be true to your principles, your values, your gifts, your talents. Discover your passions. Utilize your passion to the benefit of other people and your purpose will emerge.
Very powerful. Yeah, I'm going to put you on the spot once more.
Let's do it.
You seem to enjoy a challenge, right?
Let's not do it.
So that homeless person that comes across this video, what are the encouraging words you have for them?
You know, something that I've realized, one of the things I love to do is sit down, have a conversation, and say, dude, you seem like a very intelligent, talented, capable young guy. What's going on, man? How did you end up here? Oh, man, you know, I got in an argument with my wife. She put me out. You know, she started cheating on me and threw me out. Okay, let me get my paper now. Your wife. Okay, what else? Oh man, my boss. He was a butthead, and you know they wanted me to work all the. Oh, your boss. Okay, understood. That's fine. Go ahead. What else? Oh, society, man. Society. It's become so hard for computer came out and I lost this and things just changed. Oh, okay. Society kind of changed and left you in the. Okay, I got you. What else with it? And on and on and on. All these different things. And then towards the end, and I'll say, okay, is that everything? Yeah, that's it. The one thing I haven't seen on here, and I've done this many times, one thing I haven't seen on here is anything about you. Did you play any part in this at all? And here's the thing. Man, look, there are a lot of people that have got a lot of challenges. Trust me, no matter what your challenges you're facing, there are people that have greater challenges and lesser than you. You can find those on either spectrum. The point I'm trying to make is accountability. What part did you play in this thing? Because if you are truly a victim, you find yourself homeless as a victim of your wife, your boss, the man, the culture, all these different things. This is very unfortunate for you because this means you absolutely have no power. See, when everybody else is to blame and not you, you absolutely have no power. But if you can say, you know what, I am the reason I'm not here. Yep, I got into an argument with my wife. I couldn't fix it. It's my fault. I'm homeless. When you can accept full responsibility for your life, 100%, and say, I am the reason. Suddenly, guess what? You may still be homeless, but you have just regained your power. I have dominion over my life. I'm not a victim. I have power. And I had a guy one time live behind a trash can. We did that little thing. And I asked him, I said, dude, it stinks right here. Why are you sleeping right here? And he said, well, I go through the bags. I tear open the bags. And then when the trash hits the bags, I know instantly which one has the clean, good, fresh food in it. I was like, oh, okay. Well, I guess that makes sense. And the food's coming from a restaurant, and you can get in there and you can eat steaks and shrimp and stuff that came from this little Jamaican place, whatever. And so, the chicken, whatever it was. But the point is that he said to me one day, man, you really messed me up with that last week. What do you mean? He said, man, because I had to sit here all damn night, and I realized I'm the reason that I'm sleeping behind this damn stinking ass trash can. And I said, oh, man.
It's your fault.
I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry to hear that. And he says, yeah. And so I just want to tell you, man, this is the last time you're going to see me out here. I have dominion over my life. I'm the reason. I'm done with this. And I did see him again. He chased us down on a bicycle. And I was driving down, I said, oh man, look at here, we got a hungry customer. And I pulled over, and I said, hey man, hey, what's going on, dude? He said, you remember me? I said, yes I do. And he said, man, I wanted to tell you, my life really has changed. Wow. And I had a lady that was with us. Her name will come to me. But as he sat and told the story of how he went home, spoke to his wife, apologized, and said, I'm sorry, it's all my fault. I messed up our life. I really did. And, you know, and that was a speech that I had done at the Safe House about accountability. That's really what it was. And he sat down with his wife, says, come on inside, I want to show you something. And started looking at family albums. I said, look at this. You recognize this guy? I said, yeah, dude, that's my son. Who are those girls? He said, those are your granddaughters. He said, those are my granddaughters. He said, do you know what those little girls are going to have that boy did? They're going to have me. If you'll allow me, I'm going to get a place around here. I'm going to be in these girls' lives. And she said, baby, if you can prove to me you're off drugs, you can move in here. He said, drugs? I can afford drugs? And he said, I'm still drinking too much. But no, I don't smoke crack anymore. I'm off the drugs. Wow. And I just wanted to come out here and tell you, I moved back into my family's house. My wife never remarried. And man, I'm going to tell you what. I looked at that lady, and dude, she was a mess. I said, did you hear that? Dude, she was just bawling. I mean, her shirt was wet with tears. Krista, her name's Krista Graves. She was forever hooked. She still comes and volunteers from time to time. She was really hooked into it and understood that the one guy at a time, man, because God does the heavy lifting. You just need to make yourself available.
But Kip, before we conclude, that was a poem that you shared with me that a homeless person wrote for you. And it was evident in the content of that poem that she was being used as a vehicle by God. Would you mind sharing that poem with us right now?
I'll be happy to. That poem has made me tear up many times. Let me set it up for you. It was February 2017. We're downtown doing our thing, right? We got the clothing truck over there, and the blankets and stuff are coming out, socks, underwear, hygiene kits, and all this. There's about 30 people lined up in the soup line. This lady comes up, literally, she was living under the Grady Bridge. She had on a big down jacket with tape all over it, trying to hold the feathers in it. And she came up and she said, the homeless folks have affectionately nicknamed me the hot sauce man, okay? Because I started making hot sauce for them many years ago. And that's another story, but it turned into great hot sauce. And she says, you know what? I got so angry this morning, all they want to talk about is, what's the hot sauce man going to bring tonight? Is he going to bring the chicken and beans? Is he going to be the pork and wild rice and cabbage? And she says, I just got so sick and tired of that. So I sat down and I started journaling like my psychiatrist told me, my counselor told me. And when I did, God gave you the most amazing poem. And I know God sent this for you because it's the most beautiful thing I've ever written. Now, judging from the way this lady was looking, bless her heart, right? She had some leaves in her hair and there was duct tape all over this thing. I was totally expecting roses are red and violets are blue, right? It's another example how you know, we should never judge anyone. You don't know their path, you don't know where they've come from or where they're going. And she said the most amazing poem, and here's how it went. It's 30 degrees and I'm down on my knees. Please let him come, Lord. I'm begging you, please. Out of the night, he pulls up with a smile. He says, come to my truck, let's talk a while. Wonderful soup is his language of love, with a warm piece of cornbread sent from above. And a special sauce that he makes like no one else can. That's why we call him the hot sauce man. Beef, chicken, cabbage with beans. His soup is the best, if you know what I mean. And he serves his soup from a giant drum, and he keeps on serving as long as they come. When we thank him, he says, praise I do not deserve. You seek my Father, the one who will serve. And as his truck disappears into the night, we thank our Father for now was with him. Bless him, O Father, as only you can. Thank you, Lord Jesus, and God bless the hot sauce man. I'm telling you, that floored me And one of the things, I'll tie this in, one of the things that I knew that she had heard me say, when someone comes up to me and says, man, thank you so much, thank you, my response is always the same. It's not me, I'm just some guy with really amazing hair, man. Your Father in heaven. Your Father in heaven got you, all right? And that story of giving God the credit came through in that poem. And that just meant a lot to me, that thing. I'll tell you, that poem means a lot.
Very amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, Kip Dobbs. Before we leave, how can people get involved with your organization?
Easiest way is just go to our website, honorthehomeless.org. And you can make a donation. We are a 501c3. You can also sign up to be a volunteer and go downtown. And I'm telling you, man, I believe Gandhi said, to find yourself, you must first lose yourself in the service of others. Sign up to be a volunteer. Come downtown. Come spend some time with us. And you've heard the phrase, get in where you fit in, right? Come down and see what we're doing. Come spend some time with us. And now, because of the coronavirus, we're still going to the Safe House the second and fourth Tuesdays of every month. We're not able to get back out on the streets and under the bridges and stuff until the what is it, gathering, and what do you call it?
Social distancing.
Social distancing is the phrase. Until they kind of release that, you know, because as soon as we show up, man, as you can imagine, a mob ensues. And even though they're living together and they're doing that, we're still having to, you know, follow the guidelines put down by land and by the, you know, our city officials. So, come down, volunteer. I guarantee you, you will never go wrong trusting God's principles.
Once again, Kip, it's been a pleasure to have this opportunity to sit down with you. For our viewers, we want to say thank you for your support. And if you like what we're doing, please subscribe to our channel and like this video. If you have someone in mind that you think would be an ideal guest for us, please, by all means, do not hesitate to contact us immediately. Take care, and until next time, God bless.